Earlier this year, researchers conducted an optimization study in French adults to explore the potential of plant-based meat by improving dietary patterns and substituting that for real meat. They analyzed two types of substitutes, which is an average substitute and a nutritionally designed substitute fortified with zinc and with iron. The study revealed that the quote-unquote optimized substitute, when fortified, significantly reduced red meat consumption up to about 90% and offered better nutrition contributions in vitamins B6 and vitamin C, as well as fiber, ALA or alpha linoleic acid, and a lower sodium intake. And that indicates that a well-designed plant-based substitute or a well-designed fake meat burger can be effective in promoting healthier choices and healthier diets. Researchers found that replacing traditional meats with these alternatives, if you do so, that the subjects improve their nutrient intake and then overall increase their diet quality, contributing to better health and sustainable food practices in the long term. So generally speaking, this is a good thing. Another study published earlier this year explores the benefits of incorporating plant-based meat alternatives, otherwise known as PBMAs, to reduce the reliance on animal products and increase protein intake. The authors emphasized the importance of these PBMAs, emulating the taste and the texture and the appearance of meat so that it can gain wider acceptance among meat eaters. The study also compares the nutritional attributes of PBMAs with both meat and with whole plant foods, such as legumes and grains and nuts and seeds. And it highlights that properly designed PBMAs can provide consumers with similar sensory products as you would find in a traditional meat product, which makes them more likely to be embraced, especially in cultures where meat has traditionally played a central role. So overall, the study advocates for a complementary approach with PBMAs and with whole plant foods working together to promote sustainable and health-conscious dietary choices. The next study suggests that reducing meat consumption and increasing plant-based food aligns with climate change and with health promotion strategies. Not a shocker. And it emphasizes the need for a deeper understanding of the determinants of plant-based food choices to accelerate this transition away from eating meat and towards more plant-based choices. Okay, the research highlights the importance of novel plant-based meat alternatives in promoting sustainable and health-conscious food systems. And all of these are good because they demonstrate that substituting meat consumption with plant-based meat alternatives is a wise choice, not only for human health, but for animal welfare as well as for the environment. Okay, but here's the question. What about the health risks of eating fake meat? Are there any, and is it worth paying attention to? In other words, do we have enough information? Now, according to this study published in 2021, an increasing number of people are shifting towards plant-based eating for both environmental and health reasons. To cater to this demand, new plant-based meat alternatives, the PBMAs, have flooded the market, promising sustainability and health benefits. But here's the catch. Researchers found that not all plant-based meat substitutes are created equal. They compared traditional and novel plant-based diets to an omnivore diet. The good news is that diets with traditional plant-based meat substitutes meet daily nutrient requirements and were lower in saturated fat, which is good, lower in sodium, and lower in sugar compared to the omnivorous diet. However, the diets that are based on fake meat fell short in meeting essential nutrients like calcium and potassium and vitamin B12 while having higher levels of saturated fat, sodium, and sugar. Now, researchers in Brazil conducted a quantitative cross-sectional survey to evaluate 125 different commercialized meat substitutes that are available in Brazil right now. And I realize not everybody lives in Brazil, but this is just another example of research that's done across the world. The study encompassed three main steps. Number one, mapping out meat substitute products that are available nationwide. Number two, collecting and classifying the ingredients and the nutritional data. And number three, a statistical analysis of the gathered data. The analysis revealed something very important, which is that the majority of the evaluated products were red meat analogs, followed by chicken and meat analogs, which is about 25%, and then pork analogs about 15%, and fish meat analogs, which is about 10%. The main protein sources found in the substitutes were soy products, number one, with about 77% containing protein from soy. Pea-derived ingredients were about 20%, and gluten as a protein source was about 44% of the samples. The most frequently used fat sources were unspecified vegetable fat, just quote unquote vegetable fat, at about 32%, and then soy oil, which is about 26%. And methyl cellulose was the dominant food additive, like we talked about earlier, appearing in almost 60% of all the samples. What their findings suggest is that vegan meat substitutes have the potential to support adherence and maintenance to a vegan and vegetarian diet. But as always, further research is needed to gain deeper understanding into the potential implications of these products on human health. But it is important to understand the additives that are present in these foods are not present in a whole food plant-based diet. So by substituting meat for meat alternatives, you are increasing the number of additives that are present in your diet. The next study aimed to assess the effects of alternative plant-based meat compared to animal meats and biomarkers of inflammation. This study is a secondary analysis of what's called the SWAP meat, which is the study with appetizing plant food meat alternatives trial, which researchers are always trying to come up with some catchy acronym. And this is basically a randomized crossover trial involving generally healthy adults. Participants consumed 2 or more servings of plant-based meats per day for 8 weeks in the plant phase, followed by 2 or more servings of animal meats per day for 8 weeks in the animal phase. And again, it's a crossover trial, meaning that subjects either did animal then plant, or they did plant then animal. Both groups crossed over. The primary outcome was to measure serum or blood concentrations of TMAO, trimethylamine N-oxide, which is a molecule that's associated with cardiovascular disease risk, and found that TMAO concentrations were significantly lower in the plant-based meat phase. Not a surprise. However, when assessing a broad range of biomarkers of inflammation, there was actually no significant differences between the 2 diet phases. So the results did not support the hypothesis that plant-based meats would lead to improvements in inflammatory biomarkers. But the study's duration may have been too short in order to figure that out. It noted that highly processed and plant-based meat products used in the study might have limited the benefits or the difference between the 2 types of groups, okay? In other words, had participants eaten more whole plant foods in the plant group, markers of inflammation may have been decreased significantly more than when they put them in the plant group and it gave them processed meat, okay? This is pure speculation, but it is worth investigating. And if I were to do the study again, that's exactly what I would do. So after all this data and some educated guesses, where do we stand on fake meat? Well, we know in general that switching from high meat consumption to a plant-based diet is going to bring significant metabolic benefits. So as a general rule, we'd lean towards the fact that if you replaced all of the meat in your diet with plant-based imitation meat or fake meat, you'd probably see improvements in your health. But will you see the same benefits as if you'd switch to a low-fat plant-based whole food diet? Probably not. It's very logical. So as we said before, the nutrient profile of fake meat is highly tailored to actually increase insulin resistance because these products tend to be higher in fat and protein, especially saturated fat, which is the #1 culprit for the development of insulin resistance, and they are also low in carbohydrate energy. And these foods are, by definition, highly processed. So we can't really say that this is a perfect alternative to meat, at least not with the same vigor that a lot of other advocates do. It's certainly a step in the right direction to add more plants and remove animal protein from your diet. But we know that processed foods are bad for you in general because they increase your risk for a number of cardiometabolic conditions. And plant-based meats are about as processed foods gets. So what should you do if you're a meat lover who also happens to be aware of your health? Well, one thing that we can recommend are some true plant-based meat alternatives like jackfruit and durian and chickpeas and lentils. If you eat those foods, you're gonna be deriving significantly more nutrition because #1, they're not made in a lab. #2, they're 100% natural. #3, they're minimally processed. They're just roots, shoots, and vegetables that with the right preparation can scratch that meat craving itch. And if you have the benefit that with these unprocessed meat alternatives, you are guaranteed to see health benefits, then why wouldn't you make the transition in the first place? In short, it's likely that imitation meats will end up being less bad for you than the majority of meat products available on the market today. So as a replacement for these products, you're gonna see some benefits and you can use them as a stepping stone to reducing your meat consumption. But if you're actually trying to optimize your health in the short term and in the long term, the vast majority of your nutrients should absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, come from whole, unprocessed plant-based foods, period, end of story. That's all you have to think about. These are a transition food, and it eventually is in the direction of trying to get you to eat more whole plant-based foods. And if you can think about it that way, then you can eventually get to the whole plant-based food world, and that's when you're gonna start to see some significant metabolic advantages. So thank you for listening. Stay tuned for a word about our meal plan. Drop a comment below, give us a like if you enjoyed this, and tell us exactly what it is that you wanna learn and why eating plant-based meat, fake meat alternatives is something that you either enjoy or don't enjoy. I wanna know exactly what your experience is. So let us know exactly what it is in the comments, and we'll get back to you with as much information as we can. Thanks so much. Have a great day.